A member of our community recently did a post on our Skool platform asking if low-level dysregulation exists and what you can do to re-regulate. Well, there are mild, moderate and severe forms of dysregulation, and there are thousands of re-regulation tools, skills and resources. But not all re-regulation tools work for everyone. So in today's video I try to summarize and rank 12 groups of effective re-regulation tools, skills and resources that I tried myself during therapy and or researched in the past years. And I will rank them using a tier list from S for super to F for fail, having the goal in mind to stop or reduce acute dysregulation as an effect of complex trauma or neurodivergence. And in the end of the video, I will crown one as the best tool and one as the worst of the worst according to that goal. Welcome to today's episode. My name is Robert. And first of all, let's get on the same page with my ranking framework here for the re-regulation tools, skills and resources. First of all, in case you're not familiar with the concept of a tier list, what is a tier list? A tier list originates in the video game culture and is a popular method to classify elements subjectively on chosen criteria. And which criteria did I choose for the ranking in today's video? Before we jump into the criteria, it's also important to mention that it's really difficult to rank the regulation tools because, of course, everyone responds differently to different tools. And also, this is my personal tier list. It's definitely subjective because it's based on my experiences that I did in therapy, and you personally may come to a different result, but let's talk about that in the comments. So if you would do a different ranking on that tier list, definitely let me know your opinion. So the first criteria I chose is that the tools, skills and resources definitely have to be a re-regulating effect on the nervous system. The second criteria I chose is that it has been scientifically investigated, so those tools, resources and skills, and people who use those skills, tools and resources also report that they feel better. And criteria number 3 is also important, that the skills, resources and tools here don't harm you or other people when you use them. Now with those criteria, we evaluate the different re-regulation tools and resources now. But before we do that, I'd like to define what actually dysregulation is, because you need those tools, resources and skills to re-regulate acute dysregulation. So according to polyvagal theory, for example, there are 3 states of the central nervous system. There is the grounded state, that's the so-called ventral vagal state. Dr. Stephen Porges also explains this state as the social engagement state, but it's to be discussed if that state is actually there to be social and engaged. But if you're in that state, then you feel joy, present, you feel grounded, and then there is the fight or flight state that many of you might know. That's the so-called sympathetic state. And the third one is the free state. This is where you feel numbness, dissociation, shutdown, helplessness, and that's, according to polyvagal theory, the so-called dorsal vagal state. Dysregulation, often as a symptom of complex trauma or neurodivergence, is a reaction of our central nervous system. And that reaction of our central nervous system is there to change you into the fight or fight state or into the free state. And to bring us back to the relaxed and calm state, we use re-regulation tools and resources. So those resources help us to reconnect with our bodies, with our mind, and therefore bring us back to grounded and self state. Now let's start with the first category here. The first category are the feeling and touching skills. Those things are, for example, caressing yourself, caressing your legs, caressing your arms, caressing your hands, your tummy, or massaging yourself. For example, your fingers, your throat. When you observe children, they often do this. They massage their ears, This is what my therapist also told me, that children do that to regulate themselves, but we stop doing that when we grow up because we think that other people think that's weird. Another tool in that category is also a weighted blanket. A weighted blanket is used to wrap yourself and to feel held, to feel that sensation of being, for example, back in your mommy's tummy. That's the sensation of maximum comfort and relaxation. Feeling and touching skills, do they have a regulating effect? Yes, they have, especially at night, for example, when you sleep at a place that is not your home with people you may don't know. Then it's really helpful. It also helps for mild and moderate states of dysregulation and helps you to reconnect, especially with your body, using touch. Does it have any harm? Probably not. So that's a safe one, and therefore I put it here to B tier. Next one, mind skills. Mind skills can be something like telling yourself, I am safe. Or imagine yourself laying somewhere where you feel absolutely comfortable, for example, at a green summer meadow or on the beach. Some other mind skills can also be just naming 5 objects or reminding yourself, I think that's really helpful, that you are a full-up grown being and that you're not a child anymore. So you can defend yourself if necessary. Do mind skills have a re-regulating effect? Yes, but it's more indirectly on the body. So it's a more head or mind-focused skill. And it really depends, that's useful for you if you are more a head or a body-focused person. Well, talking to yourself can definitely be helpful. It can also adjust your mindset, but for re-regulating physical symptoms is probably not the most effective skill set here. Does it have potential harm? Well, experience of shame and frustration can appear here if it's not possible for you to re-regulate yourself just using mind-based skills or just using your thoughts to get back to a grounded state. And this is why I put mind skills to C tier. The next category are bilateral skills. Bilateral skills are, for example, self-administered EMDR, so eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. That's also a kind of therapy where we talked about at that tier list video, where we talked about the best approaches for CPTSD. It's basically moving your eyes from the left to the right side. It's also, for example, moving your eyes constantly and other objects while moving. Butterfly tapping is also something in that category. Crossing your thumbs can also be a bilateral movement here, or also doing complex movements with both halves of your body, basically where both halves are included. Self-administered EMDR is also something that you can try yourself. There are various YouTube videos here where you can try that at home. I will put a link in the description below. Does it have a re-regulating effect? Well, many people report that especially EMDR has a tremendous effect on them. So it's definitely something where people say, where there is a lot of experience here, that it's actually helpful to regulate. Studies also show that EMDR improves trauma-associated symptoms, but also has a minor effect on the underlying disorder like PTSD. Studies conclude that symptomatic improvement of bilateral movements can range up to 50%. Does it have any potential harm? If you just do EMDR, for example, or butterfly tapping as somatic work, probably no harm can occur. But if you target specific memories during your EMDR sessions, creating a safe and stable environment first is really important here to not get flashbacks. I therefore put bilateral movement, and especially EMDR, to A tier. Next one. Seeing skills. Seeing skills is something you can do at any time, basically everywhere, using your eyes. It's, for example, looking into a particular bright light source, such as a daylight lamp that I have, for example, up here. When I look into that lamp, I'm definitely distracted because it's such a bright light that also brings me back into a more regulated state. What you can also do is you can do everywhere, moving your gaze from one object to another in the room or in your environment, and focus on using your sight to identify those objects. You can also move something brightly colored, for example, about 30 centimeters in front of your face, in the center of your probably limited field of view. For example, when you're dissociated, that might help you to bring you back in an associated state with yourself. Does it have a re-regulating effect? Well, it definitely keeps you awake. It has a more mild effect, in my opinion, if at all. And looking into bright lights, especially blue light, stops the body from producing melatonin. So that might be a side effect if you do that late in the evening, if you want to sleep. And also gazing into really bright lights can also harm your eyes. Never look directly into the sun, by the way. And therefore I put seeing skills a D tier. Next category, listening skills. Listening to meditation and pre-recorded hypnosis can be really helpful to regulate and ground yourself. There are guided hypnosis sessions, for example, by Andrew Major here on YouTube. Really can recommend them, and many people report that those sessions are really helpful. I also think about recording hypnosis sessions for our Skool community, so definitely let me know in the comments or in Skool if you think that's a helpful thing. Listening to bilateral beats while wearing headphones is also a listening skill. Listening to your favorite music very loudly, for example. Also self-recorded audio files, as I said. For example, self-recorded hypnosis sessions can be really helpful. If you're comfortable with your own voice, you can definitely do that for yourself. I also did that a couple times, and to me is really appealing. Listening to relaxing white noises while wearing headphones like rain, waves, river sounds is also that many people do to regulate and ground themselves. And do listening skills in general have a re-regulating effect? Definitely yes. Especially if you have difficulties falling asleep, this category of skills and resources can be a real game changer. For me, it's definitely one of the most powerful tools for getting better sleep and to falling into sleep. Also, it helps you to feel better if you can focus on the audio. So if that works for you, it's a great way. Science also shows that audio affects our brain waves and therefore changes our state of the central nervous system. And does it have any potential harms? Well, no. Just if you turn up your volume too loud, then it might damage your ears, but I guess you won't do that, so you're probably safe with that. And therefore, listening skills also go to A tier. Next category, smelling skills. Smelling skills can help you to remind you of things that you might like and therefore take you out of that dysregulated state. Menthol oil can be a really good thing. Pepper, lemon juice, sunscreen, scented oil. And you can also use things like smelling salts with ammonia in it. Those things stop intense dysregulation and the faint reflex. Smelling substances definitely have an effect on your central nervous system. In my opinion, it most of the time works for mild dysregulation. What those things do is they bring back positive memories that are associated with great smells and distract you from your acute dysregulation. Those things probably also don't have any potential harm, but some substances, for example, like smelling salts, can be super intense. So all in all, I like smelling skills, but you have to be aware that the overall effect is just kind of mild. So I put smelling skills to D tier. Then we have the sense of balance. The sense of balance can also be used to help you re-regulating. For example, balancing on a fallen tree in the forest or in the park, standing on a balance board on one leg or both legs, or standing on one leg as long as possible. You can also do yoga poses. And using the sense of balance has, in my opinion, also, if at all, a small re-regulating effect. So it's maybe helpful for mild dysregulation. Definitely balance and movement are good for your health. They also stimulate your brain. But in order to do those things, you may need additional things like a bench or a balance board. Do balance skills have any potential harms or are they threatening? No, but definitely make sure to not fall from that tree. I personally didn't see any big dysregulating effects from balancing skills, so therefore I put them to fail. Wop, wop, wop. Next one, pain. Pain is definitely one of the most effective ways to interrupt dysregulated states. Some people use extreme pain to reconnect with themselves, for example, like cutting or even hurting themselves in more extreme forms. Using pain as a tool is not a favorable way to re-regulate ourselves, but it can be helpful to stop stressful situations, definitely. Be aware if you use pain as a method to not hurt yourself or even others. If you use those skills, definitely look out for your safety first. Pain-based skills can be anything that might hurt you in a mild to maybe moderate way. For example, using a key to swipe over your fingertip, flicking your wrist with a rubber band or a hair tie, generating muscle pain through uncomfortable situations such as squats or wall sits, using cold wax strips for targeted hair removal. Some people do that they just keep some hairs on their legs and arms for situations where they need that resource of regulating themselves through hair removal pain. Some people do that, and it's probably helpful. You can also use cool packs, cold water, cold showering. That's also a big one that helps you regulating. Those things provide targeted cold stimuli. You could also put stones or a marble in your shoes and walk on them, or hit the table with the flat of your hand. Does pain have a re-regulating effect? It does definitely have a huge re-regulating effect on your body. It also interrupts the dysregulation reaction, and many people use it. When I sometimes slightly dysregulate, for example, I press my fingernail in my skin to stop that reaction. That's also a form of mild pain to use to re-regulate. Self-harm, unfortunately, gives us the ability to feel us again and to get back to that connection with ourselves. So pain definitely is useful, but it also has a lot of side effects. So you could hurt yourself, you could hurt others if you use various types of pain, especially if you truly, for example, cut yourself, if you beat yourself. It's not forbidden to use pain as a method to regulate yourself, but definitely keep in mind to apply pain as a method in safe environments. Pain, therefore, is pretty useful, but also has the potential to harm yourself and others, and therefore I put pain in B tier here. Next one, social skills, tools, and resources. Well, whenever I have a bad day, whenever I'm really dysregulated, I sit at my desk here, talking to someone, especially in person, always lifts my mood and always helps me to regulate a lot. Also, a video call, for example, with a client, with an employee, or just texting someone often just helps me to connect with myself and to also to change those negative thoughts that I'm thinking, which are also part of that dysregulated state, of course. So some people trigger dysregulation more in you, and others really remove that state of dysregulation. So if there are people who reduce your dysregulation, then definitely spend more time with them, or just give them a call or even a text. And also, if you don't have found those social interactions yet, you can also become a member of our exclusive community here the understandable community. So if you have a dysregulated day, therefore you can post in our school community and get support and connection from other like-minded people who even may face the same challenges. We offer a safe space online and social activity for people with CPTSD, for highly sensitive people, for neurodivergent people. We also have guided online courses that show you a step-by-step path how to resolve symptoms of CPTSD and how to help re-regulate dysregulated states. So that might also be another tool to look into, a great resource if you have a dysregulated day. The platform bundles all resources and tools we also talk about in this video that help you to regulate your nervous system, and you can become a member today. Go to understandable.net/join and join our community. I also put the link in the description below. So, social engagement, social skills, connection, they definitely have a re-regulating effect on the central nervous system, and probably they also might help instantly because you can also share and talk through your actual state. And that already often helps quite a lot. How does it feel if you do that? Is there a lot of science behind that? Yes, there is. Because co-regulation, this is what we do as human beings with other people, is a proven way to stop dysregulation. And also another advantage is that social engagement, talking to other people, probably has no real side effects. That's a safe method. And therefore, I also put social skills to A tier. We still don't have any S tier here, so let's see if the next one might be one. Tasting and eating skills. Well, tasting foods that remind you of positive memories, that's something similar like smelling specific things that remind you of positive things. You can eat ice cream, drink orange juice, so tasting foods that have an intense taste, they also can bring you out of that dysregulated state. Things like ginger, horseradish, vinegar, wasabi, chili, or mustard are especially helpful substances or foods to eat to get you out of that state. Still, from my experience, tasting has a small effect on your dysregulation, so it's also a proper method to re-regulate mild dysregulation. Still, eating also has a regulating effect on the body, so that's also a really helpful thing. Eating itself influences the body's biochemics and changes the state of your body as well, and eating therefore reduces stress because it also lowers your cortisol. Especially sugar, fat, and salt trigger dopamine and reduce your stress levels. Well, but of course you can also overeat if you do that regularly, because you could get to a point where you kind of rely on eating in stressful situations in order to reduce dysregulation. I saw many people where this exactly happens. Eating disorders are also a potential side effect if you eat to regulate yourself. Therefore, I put tasting and eating skills to B tier. Next one, movement skills. Well, moving the body is definitely one of the best methods to regulate acute distress. It is not just interrupting the dysregulated state, but it is actually re-regulating the body. Movement skills can be, for example, running or jogging, going for a walk, doing a workout and creating some form of hyperarousal. I recommend doing that even if you don't feel like that, because it brings you out of that dysregulated state pretty often. Shaking your hands or feet, dancing, jumping or using a trampoline, running up and down stairs, doing yoga, for example, Qigong to create hyperarousal, so that's the opposite of hyperarousal. You could also stomp your foot and generate anger on purpose, for example, to try to convert fear if you are afraid in this regulated state. Or you could also push away walls with your own strengths in order to try to get your body in that hyper-aroused state. Do movement skills have a regulating effect? Yes, they definitely have a huge effect. Movement and exercising has an actual re-regulating effect on the body and helps you to reconnect with your body and to clear your mind. Science also shows that exercising actually reduces stress, so you automatically feel better if you do sports. It also influences your hormones and you are more relaxed and more resilient to stress if you do movement exercises regularly. Does it have any potential side effects? Well, not too many in my opinion, but if you work out too much, that may even cause more stress. Some people may get addicted to stress, same thing as eating, because if you eat too much, if you do too much sports, too much exercises, then you kind of need the exercising in order to re-regulate. If you go 5, 6, 7 times a week to have a workout at the gym, for example, or go for a run, then that's also creating a lot of muscle pain, a lot of stress within your body, and has a more harmful effect than just a re-regulating effect. Still, in my opinion, movement skills are definitely on top of our tier list, so I put them to S for super. And then we have soft skills. Soft skills are, for example, deep belly breathing, like pronouncing vowels long, like A, E, I, O, U, to create vibration. Exhale for a really long time and make sounds with your mouth open, like or humming and buzzing. Those things, in my opinion, are also effective for mild dysregulation. Well, I didn't make great experiences with those soft skills, but yeah, they are soft skills, so for mild dysregulation, they can be something that helps you. They definitely aim to stimulate your vagus nerve, and some people I know who are neurodivergent as well report that for them it's helpful to reconnect with their bodies as well. They have any potential harm? No, but they're also not really effective. So yeah, they're just soft skills, and therefore I put soft skills to C tier here. Now, after hearing all of these skills and tools, let's crown one as the best of the best and one of the worst, as always, to reduce acute dysregulation. But first I want to remind you that we also have a free workbook, the R3 Re-Regulation Resources, with all of those re-regulation resources mentioned in this video, plus additional exercises to manage dysregulation. And you can download the workbook for free at understandable.net/book. I put that in the description below in the category of resources. Definitely go check that out. Now, let's crown one as the best and one as the worst, and remember that we ranked the resources to stop acute dysregulation or to reduce acute dysregulation. So therefore, the best by far, in my opinion, is the movement skills category. Exercising is not just healthy and one of the most safe categories, it also has an actual re-regulating effect on the body. And from that point of view, to stop dysregulation, in my opinion, just using the sense of balance here is one of the least effective. It just has the smallest effect, in my opinion. Ideally, you have multiple tools in your toolkit that you can combine or exchange or even adapt to different situations of dysregulation. For example, combining specific resources like movement and exercising with bilateral exercises can be super effective. Seeing skills and bilateral movements like EMDR can be pretty effective, or social activities and listening to music together or exercising together in a group can also be super effective. Now, what do you think about that tier list of re-regulation tools, skills, and resources? Definitely let me know if you would change the tier list for yourself, if you think, well, other tools are even more important than those that I crowned as the best. definitely discuss in the comments below. If you want to support the podcast, definitely leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I see and speak to you next Sunday for another episode here on the channel.